Now, when you have a crush on someone, don't tell anyone you know. Seriously, a crush is meant to be kept secret because let's say you tell one of the guys, they're going to end up going for it if they're not loyal to you. And let's just say they're going to go steal your girl and then more drama is going to happen to the point where you're trapped in an Airbnb with your supposed crush that ends up actually doing something else with something else. And let me just explain the story because it gets really intense and really insane. But yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba and welcome back to another crazy but super embarrassing story. Now, today's story all takes place, funny enough, back in my grade 9 year. Now in grade 9, there was a girl that I kind of had a crush on. By kind of, I mean, I liked her, but I didn't know much about her. But the way she looked at me and the way I looked at her, I don't know. In some way, it made me feel like we had some sort of connection. And I remember I liked this girl a lot, but I didn't really know if she actually liked me, to be honest, at this time. And it got really weird because every time we would like cross by in the hallway, we end up staring at each other. And for example, when we would sit in class, we end up staring at each other. And no, it wouldn't be like little glances. It would be like full on like staring contests to the point where it was pretty obvious there was something between us that we didn't really know what was going on. But me being in grade 9 at this time, I wasn't really a player. I was really shy at the time and I was really nervous to go up to girls and kind of just play the game, I guess you would say. I didn't gain that confidence till like grade 10 or like halfway through my grade 9 year. So knowing this, I remember basically was a helpless romantic in love, and I did the one thing that most guys end up doing when they end up liking someone, and that is go up to their friends and tell them. I remember around lunchtime, me and my homies, we all ended up sitting in a table and we all ended up eating lunch together. And I ended up looking at one of my buddies, and this guy was like a lady slayer, I guess, in a way. I don't know. At the time, he had more girlfriends than I ever did. And I looked at him and I told him, yo, bro, I'm just curious, like, what's the best way to like approach a girl? What do you mean, Bubba? Like, are you into someone? Like, are you like, you know, thinking about someone? Yeah, I am. And like, I don't know how to like approach her, if that makes any sense. I mean, like, who's the girl? It depends on what girl it is. I remember I ended up telling him like who the girl was and like, you know, why I feel like she was interested in me. And that's when he said, oh, well, I mean, like, bro, I could just be a W wingman and just go ask her for you. Seriously, you would do that? Yeah, bro. Like, if anything, I could probably help you, like, you know, get her number or something. Okay, then, yeah, sure. Okay. Wait, how do we do this? Here, just follow me. Me and my homie, we ended up standing up and leaving the rest of our friends, and we ended up going down the hallway where her locker was. And we saw her standing near her locker and basically talking with like some of her girlfriends that were there. And he looks at me and he's like, you sure you want me to do this? Yeah, dude, like she's great. Okay, here, just stay here. I got this. He ends up walking up with confidence, and I started studying his moves on how he walks up to girls, funny enough. But he walks up there and he looks at her and they start talking. Now, I was not close enough to hear what was going on, but I had full faith in my buddy at the time. He's talking with this girl, and one thing led to another. He ends up pulling out his phone, and that's it. I don't really know what happened next, but he walks back to me and he's like, bro, just give it some time. I think she'll be interested in you. So did you get me her number? Oh, nah, she's not like interested like that yet, bro. But down the line, maybe she will be in the future. Okay. That's a little weird. Wait, so what happened? What'd you tell her? Oh, just don't worry about it. Let's just say it didn't work out, but it's okay, man. I know many other girls you can go hit on. At that moment, my heart sank because like I, you know, had full faith in my buddy, and I was like, okay, well, I guess he wasn't interested in me. And then I realized 2 weeks later, something insane happened where my buddy ended up actually, funny enough, started dating my crush. But other than my heart sinking, I realized that she was officially off the list, and that, you know, since she's dating my buddy now, there was no possible chance I could get with her. When deep down in the back of my mind, and probably deep down in my heart that sank earlier, I knew that I still liked her. From there, years went on, and my buddy was still dating this girl, and they were dating till grade 12, our final year of high school. They were together for a very long time, and I remember from this point, I'm like, you know, damn, like they're gonna be high school sweethearts. Things are perfect. And to be fair, like even though it was kind of rude what he did, he was still part of the boys, and he was still, you know, part of our close friend group that we had back in high school. And, you know, we were all really close friends. And one thing I started to realize over the years of their relationship was that they got into a lot of different arguments about, you know, liking about girls' Instagram photos, to basically talking to other girls, from her talking to other guys. It was a big mess, to the point where a lot of their drama really scoured around the school, and most people knew about it. But aside from that, knowing that it was our grade 12 year though, we wanted to make sure that our grade 12 year was still fun without the whole entire drama thing going on. One day, me and my homies in my grade 12 year, we all ended up sitting together at lunchtime. We all sat down next to each other. Knowing that years went by and how fast high school went through with the years, I'm not gonna lie, we were all pretty different people. Like I went from being a shy, quiet grade 9 kid to being a massive player in grade 12, graduating, not really knowing what he wanted to do in the future. And knowing that finals were coming up and everything, we all agreed to make a plan that after finals, all of us would go hang out and go on a little vacation together. What vacation? Well, we ended up going to a hot springs that was like basically like, you know, a vacation spot in our home city. And we all decided to book an Airbnb together and basically basically go enjoy it. Now, at the time when we were all sitting together at lunch, we made a very specific rule that it'd be only guys in that B&B, okay? All of us would be a guy's trip, it'd be a guy's vacation, and that's it. Simple as that. But let's just say after finals passed by, we ended up getting a message in the group chat from the guy that ended up taking my crush originally back in grade 9. And he says, "Yo guys, I don't think I can go on the trip. Is it cool if I get my money back for the B&B?" "Why? Why can't you go?" "My girl said that unless she's going, I'm not allowed to go. We're kind of like in a tricky situation." "Ugh, you gotta be kidding me again," is what one of my other buddies said. And it got really weird and awkward, and I'm not gonna lie, it got to the point where all of us guys just ended up agreeing that she could come as long as she wasn't in the way. I remember my homie was super happy about this, and he told his girl, and he ended up being able to come for the vacation that we planned. And let's just say on the day of the vacation, things got really weird, because I remember we all ended up basically meeting up. And I want to say this, my buddy back in grade 9 that ended up taking the girl that I liked, compared to now in our grade 12 year, we were two very different people. Like, he went from being, you know, a rising star that many people liked in grade 9 to being a bum in grade 12. And for me, well, I was kind of the opposite. I went from being a really shy, quiet kid to being, well, a cool guy with a car that pulled a lot of girls. So obviously things kind of, I guess you could say, flipped for me and him. And when it came to the day of the vacation, I remember I ended up having the job to pick up everybody with my car, since I had a car at the time. I remember I drove over to everyone's houses, and when I drove over to my buddy's place that had the girlfriend, two of my buddies were already sitting in the back, and my buddy comes up and says, "Yo, Bubba, can you open the trunk?" I ended up opening the trunk, and obviously his girl came out and said, "I am not sitting in the back. You have to sit in the back with your friends." When she said this, I remember my buddy was like, "Oh, babe, come on. It's just my homies. Like, it's not that big of a deal." "No, babe, I'm gonna sit in the front with Bubba, okay? It's not my fault you can't drive." Yeah, let's just say the tension was really built up there, but let's just say she ended up sitting in the front with me, and we ended up going on the way driving. As we're driving, one thing I started to realize was the same thing that happened back in grade 9, where basically me and her kept looking at each other very weirdly, to the point where people in the back seat started to realize, being like, "Yo, Bubba, you good? You can't keep your eyes on the road?" "Huh? Oh, yeah, I am. Sorry, just, you know, long day." "Has it really been a long day, Bubba? Is everything okay?" When she said this, I remember it felt super weird seeing that she was concerned about me. And honestly, like, I don't know. I will say this, things got really, really awkward. Over time, like, I didn't really know what to think or what to say. And to be honest, since she was dating my buddy, it was my main goal not to really talk to her or basically, you know, conversate with her at all, because she wasn't even supposed to be part of this vacation in the first place. And also, I want to be a W man's and not steal his girl. At least at the time, that's kind of what I thought, even though she turned me down. When we finally got to the vacation spot, I remember all of us guys, we ended up going into the B&B and unloading our bags. Now, the thing about this B&B was that there was enough rooms for all of us, right? But at the same time, for some reason, the locks on the B&B were really weird, because there was a specific code that would change like every hour, and apparently the B&B owner had to message us what the code was. And I remember it was like kind of weird, but at the same time, it was like, okay, I mean, like, you know, it's really safe, at least is what we thought. But as time went on, I remember it got really, really weird, because after, you know, us having a good day on vacation, throughout the entire single day, I kept realizing that me and this girl, we kept having these random eye contact moments where it felt like it was back in grade 9. At this moment, I don't know why, but those old feelings that I had in my stomach started to come back, and it got really awkward to the point where I didn't really know what to say to her. To be honest, every time she would try to conversate with me or try to talk to me, I would try to refuse and ignore it and just hang out with the guys, because obviously she was dating my homie at the time. No way I was gonna speak to her. But then towards late at night on the first night of the B&B, I remember things got really intense, because we all started basically sitting down and, you know, playing board games and basically started talking to each other and watching the game on TV. And one thing led to another. For some reason, in our homie's bedroom with his girlfriend, a loud argument started happening. It was super weird, and I'm like, yo, like, what's that argument going on up there? And we started to hear the argument about, apparently she liked someone else, but he was like, you know, not letting her go. And it was like this whole like weird like situation. To be honest, I didn't really hear much about it, nor can I really talk about it, because to be honest, it's old news. But then one thing led to another. I ended up seeing this guy coming down the stairs and just leaving the B&B. He just straight up leaves and slams the door. Everyone gets up, you know, starts thinking, yo, like, should we go after him and stuff? And then since there was like 3 other dudes, including me, the other 2 were like, okay, well, you know what? You come with me. We're gonna go see what's going on with him. Okay, what should I do? And when I said, what should I do? Right away, we end up hearing his girlfriend come downstairs being like, Bubba, can you stay here? I'm not feeling well. At this moment, I remember my other 2 homies just look at me and they're like, okay, Bubba, you're staying here. And they just left. left. And I was stuck with this girl. And when they left, I remember it was like super late at night. Obviously at this time I was worried, but then I ended up sitting on the couch, beside her, and I realized she started crying. I ended up asking her like, yo, is everything all right? Is everything okay? But she just kept saying how like, times have changed and how, in the beginning of the relationship, he was a good guy, and then he ended up becoming a jerk over time. And I don't really know. It was really random stuff that I really didn't need to know. By the way, quick advice for anyone that's in a relationship: whatever happens between you guys stays between you guys. It should not be spread out amongst any friends or family or anything like that. Unless it's like immediate danger, then for sure you should. But back to what I was saying with the storyline. After like an hour of me trying to make sure she was okay, she ends up basically looking at me and saying, Baba, I don't understand. Back in grade 9, like, I always thought you liked me, but you never walked up to me. Was there like something wrong with me? What? No, I just, I was shy back then. I didn't really know what I was doing. Wait, so you did like me? Kinda? I mean, like, it's such a long time ago. I don't really remember, is what I told her. But then she ended up looking at me again, and we ended up locking eyes. And that's when she started to lean closer, and funny enough, she ended up kissing me. At that moment, though, I felt super weirded out. I'm like, yo, this should not be happening. So I ended up pushing her off, and I'm like, yo, you're dating my homie. Like, this is not right. What are you doing? She ends up crying, being like, oh my goodness, like, I can't believe I just did that. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. And, she was panicking. But then after like 10 minutes later, we ended up keeping our distance between each other, and then we ended up hearing a knock on the door from the B&B. Now, when the door was knocked, I remember I ended up going and trying to open the door, but I couldn't open it because, like I said earlier, there was like a specific code every hour you had to get to open the B&B. And I remember I'm like, yo, boys, is that you? Yeah, Bubba, we're outside. Open the door. I can't open the door. Why can't you? Because I don't have the code. I think I should get the code. Here, let me check. And realizing that the Airbnb owner didn't send us an update code on what the code is actually for the door anymore. So they were locked out. And I'm like, yo, if they're locked out, that means I'm locked in with this guy's girlfriend. So it was super awkward. And I remember I ended up going back in there, and I'm like, yo, we're trapped in here, by the way. And when I mentioned to her that we were trapped, she stood up and she looks at me instantly in the eyes and she said, wait, really? It's just me and you? Yeah. And then that's when she walks up to me and she grabs me by the shirt and says, Bubba, you cannot mention anything about this. And we end up going up to my bedroom that I had at the B&B, and we ended up doing the devil's tango. At this moment, I didn't really know what to think, because I'm not gonna lie, this made me really unattracted to her, but at the same time kind of grossed out that she was a cheater. I don't know, I guess all my feelings from back then in grade 9 definitely disappeared at this time, and knowing that we just did the devil's tango definitely made things a lot weirder. From there, I remember like 4 hours went by, and finally the Airbnb guy answered, and I ended up hearing the door unlock because you could hear like this weird like zzz unlocking sound, and I start panicking, and I look at the girl that used to be my crush, and I'm like, yo, put on your clothes quick. So she puts on her clothes and she runs straight to the room where her boyfriend was supposed to be in. As for me, well, I was laying in bed, and then afterwards my homies all come upstairs and walk into my room, and they're like, yo, Bubba, what are you doing? Huh? What? I'm just laying in bed. What's going on? Pretending that I was asleep. They look at me and they're like, yo, where's my girlfriend? I think she's in your room, bro. Oh, okay, sorry, you can go back to bed now. They all end up leaving my room, and I end up going to bed that night knowing what I did. And honestly, I will say this, I insanely regret it, but I guess that's what happens when you're trapped with your old crush in the B&B. And if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to click on one of the videos on screen right now and follow for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys.